All right guys, welcome back to the Road to Pro. Today we're talking about how to let out balls go in pickleball. One of my early coaches, David Callahan, said that this is probably the second hardest skill in pickleball to pick up.
Well, unless you're a former soccer goalie, they don't ever let anything go, so then it would be the hardest skill, but for most it might be the second.
Yeah, second hardest usually, but if you're a soccer goalie, probably the first. And it's super valuable because if you can learn to let out balls go, there's probably 3, 4, 5 points in a game that you can get that your opponent will then lose just by letting out balls go. If you can let out balls go, then your opponent's going to step off the gas a little bit, right? And they won't drive it at you as much.
Yeah, if I'm playing somebody and they're hitting balls that I know are going out, I feel really good attacking them because you know you're probably going to win the point.
Today we're going to go through 5 of the key factors you should consider when determining to let a ball go out or actually play it. And then we're going to show you a drill that I've been working on for a while. I want to teach it to Danny, and we're going to show you guys how you can practice this by yourself at home. First key factor you should consider when determining to let a ball go out or not is where is your opponent making contact with the ball. If they're making contact super low to the ground, the only place they can hit the ball is up into the air. And so by hitting it up into the air, it's more likely to go out of bounds. If they're making contact with the ball up high here, they can hit from high to low and more likely for that ball to land in bounds. If I hit one from super low, it's likely to go out. And if I hit one from higher, it goes from high to low, more likely to land in bounds. The second part of this is where is your opponent at on the court itself. If I'm further back to the baseline and I hit a ball from low to high on the baseline, there's a good chance it can still land in bounds because I have a lot of room to work with. Same thing, ball is back here. If it's high, I can hit from high to low, likely to land in bounds. But as I move forward and take balls from low to high, it's more likely to land out of bounds. So especially in this transition zone for tennis players, racquetball players, they love to attack balls that are really low to the ground, so definitely look out for that. If you hit a short return, there's a really good likelihood that ball is going to be low to the ground here. Your opponents will be coming up and making contact down here. That's a pretty good indication that you should get out of the way and let that ball go out of bounds.
All right, the third one that we're looking for, and again, a lot of this is what you have to see before the shot. You're almost prejudging if you think it's going to go out. This one is the length of the backswing. These small backswings, you're not anticipating much, but if you see somebody wind up, there's a good chance it's going out, especially from up here. Typically, if someone hits a hard shot from anywhere, the best chance that it has to drop in is if they're putting a lot of top spin on the ball. Any kind of side spin or especially cut, hard shot is just gonna keep going. If you see that top spin, you know, from different places, you'll be judging it. But if you see somebody cutting hard or flat hard, that's another sign the ball's gonna go long.
Yeah, so just to reiterate what Danny said, if it's top spin that they're putting on the ball, it's more than likely going to dip into the court and stay in. But if it's a flat ball or one with some backspin slice, it'll carry through the air and it'll travel further and most likely go out of bounds. The fifth key factor you have to consider is what's the angle that your opponent is hitting the ball. If they're hitting the ball straight down the line, there's a pretty good chance it'll stay in because the court's long. If they hit the ball diagonally from corner to corner, there's an even larger chance the ball will stay in because the court is the longest from corner to corner. But if your opponent is hitting a ball cross court and they're taking a very sharp angle, there's a very good chance it's going to go out of bounds because the court gets very short once you start hitting those sharp angles. So Danny's going to show us some examples. So the first one, he's going to hit just the ball that goes straight down the line. And of course that stays in. From corner to corner, of course that stays in. But when he hits the really sharp angle across court, of course that one goes out. All right, a few other factors we haven't said yet that you have to consider. Number one, probably the weather, right? So if it's super windy, you need to know which direction the wind's blowing, and then you can make a decision as to whether or not the wind's going to impact the flight of the ball. Number two is if it is hot versus cold. On a hotter day, the balls get softer and they don't travel as far. On a colder day, the balls get harder and they travel much farther. Number three, I would say consider whether the ball is a Franklin or a Dura. Those are the two most likely balls you're going to be playing with. And that's just like the hot versus cold. The harder the ball is, the more likely it is to go long. The softer the ball is, the more likely it is to stay in balance. Typically, Franklins are softer than Duras. All right, so really important to remember, these are all just different factors that you have to consider. So it's really hard to take into account every single one of these things to make that decision. So super, super important that you actually go out and drill this, and that way your brain can make a very quick decision to let that ball go long or to play the ball and continue the point. General principles, number one that you'll hear a lot is shoulder high, let it fly. So Danny and I are going to be dinking back and forth. Occasionally I'll hit one at him with some pace on it. If it's shoulder high, he's going to let it fly, and more than likely it'll be out of bounds. All right, shoulder high, let it fly. You got a couple balls. Then if I hit one, you know, like that towards his hips, it's likely to stay in bounds. Right, that was at his hip. That would have definitely went in. One more. We're hitting, we're hitting, we're hitting. I speed one up, shoulder high, lets it fly, ball goes out of bounds. So what we're gonna do here is set up a drill so that you can practice this at home with a partner, and we're gonna show you that right now. But first, a word from our sponsor. Just kidding.
This episode is brought to you by the Werfel Foundation. Check it out, werfelfoundation.org.
We've moved the camera further away so that you can actually see the entire court. What you're gonna wanna do is have one person have a bucket of balls or some container of balls with them. Right now, I'm the person that's gonna be practicing letting out balls go. Danny, he's gonna be the guy that's hitting the balls at me. So we're gonna have Danny pick a random place on the court. Right now, he's pretty far back to the baseline. That tells me right away, most of these balls probably gonna go in. I'm gonna hit a ball to Danny, and then I'm gonna let him hit the ball back at me. Now the ball he hits back at me, I'm not gonna touch it at all. I'm gonna look straight ahead at Danny, and I'm gonna say either in or no, okay? If I say in, that means that I believe that ball is landing in bounds. If I say no, that means I believe that ball is going to land out of bounds. And then Danny and I are gonna look and see if I was correct or wrong. So first ball, that's in, hit the back line. So I've been right there. Ideally, we're going for 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, somewhere in there. Hit a ball to Danny, in, obviously in, out, that was out. Nope. Now Danny's gonna pick a different spot on the court. We're gonna keep doing this drill. Nope. Nope. In. Whew. In. 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 Nope. Nice. Nope. Was that in or
It was out?
Nice. So I just saw a big backswing and I assumed.
No.
Nice.
Yes, on the spin.
Very slow paced ball, even though it was high. A lot of top spin.
Yes. No.
Yep, backspin, high goes out.
No. Yes, good one.
That's good. Even though we're getting, you know,
Yes.
some of these wrong, it's good just to train the brain because you're seeing them go long. Nice. Look at this guy.